Welcome to the Real Female Entrepreneurs. Today's guest is the definition of a trailblazer with staying power, an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and award winning photographer. She spent decades shaping industries from sales and marketing to helping launch Georgia's motion picture boom. With global stages, best selling books, and a creative eye that captures the world's beauty, her impact is both visionary and timeless. Please help me welcome the amazing Beverly Copen. Hey, Miss Bev, how are you?
Hey, Miss Angel.
Oh
I'm
my God,
just
I am so excited to be here with you and to hear about your amazing story. There is so many. One of your books, you told me read chapter 8 first, and I did. And I am just blown away by everything that you did, accomplished, what you've been through. And as a woman, you're so strong, and the impact that you can bring and build upon for other women to grow is phenomenal.
thank you, thank you, thank you. How can I move forward with helping you today?
Well, what I'd really love is for you to tell me a little bit more about you. Wow, you brought Georgia motion pictures to Georgia. You made the whole boom go on with it. Plus, you've done so many other things. Do you mind just telling us a little bit more about you and what's happened in your life?
I think one of the things I learned early on is that when somebody said, "Why would you want to do that?" I would just simply say, "Why not?" And so I didn't really ever accept that as a negative. I just when you at with when you do that, they can either tell you the reason why, or they can say, "Oh, okay." So in part of my life was selling, I mean, not selling, was helping a lot of women around the United States, North Canada, and then eventually globally, uh, teaching, helping them with the seminars of how to be have more strategy in it and how to answer all the no's that you're going to get before you get to yes. And so part of what was really fun was having it so interactive, because having something interactive, you can answer honestly from your gut and from your feeling. And so it was a wonderful way that went it on for quite a long time, many, many, many months. And that was wonderful. And so then it spread. I realized that I was really onto something, like some people are on to female entrepreneurs, and I realized that my approach and my ideas and my attitude was different than a lot of people, and I didn't have the same fear factor
Mm,
that many people who are doing something that's creative, that's innovative, that it may or may not work. What happens if you fail? Well, you would have failed if you didn't try.
that's it. I mean, that's failing on itself if you don't try. Am I
That's
right?
exactly right. That's failing in itself. And
Yeah.
so I didn't fear failure. I would try and examine the pros and the cons. And here's one of the things that I love to do. If I have a situation that I'm worried about, maybe it not working, maybe failing or something like that, I take out two pieces of paper and I write down on one piece of paper, what happens if this works? What is the best thing that can happen? And I list all the best things that could happen on that piece of paper. And then it's what if it doesn't work? And so I have another piece of paper with the what if it fails? What if it doesn't work? What is the worst thing that could happen? If I can live with the worst thing that can happen,
Mm.
I will go ahead and say, why not?
Ooh. So if I can live with the worst thing that could happen if I take on this situation,
Hmm?
why not do it? Oh, okay. That is an eye opener all within itself.
I love it. I
Mhm.
love it.
I love that
Okay.
because if it did work, look at all the amazing things that can happen.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if it didn't work, the worst possible situation. Okay.
Yes, because If people are afraid to admit it might not work, then they're going to have that internally. And so it's better to put it on a piece of paper and say, just in a kind of a conversation, well, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah. I'm going to go back a little bit more to your nose. So I was the person that when I got in sales, they said, Angel, go get 100 no's. You cannot get 100 no's. I was so bad. Guess who got 100 no's?
You did.
Trade.
Mhm,
So it was just something I had to learn. It was something I had to overcome, is
mhm,
getting
mhm.
those 100 no's. And I swear one day I actually own that domain. I'm actually going to write a book on 100 no's.
I think that's going to be a great title.
Yeah, I really think so.
And I tell you how that worked?
Yes,
Okay, so
please.
I've always been an entrepreneur. One time I was not, when I didn't know what to do next. And so I took a pause. And one day after spending the whole summer with my then blended family of 5 children, I knew why I worked. But I didn't know what I wanted to do because my things relating to the film industry, relating to models and talent, Atlanta models and talent, it it was a it was a different period of time. I answered an ad in the want ads in the newspaper for a company out of New York City who was selling business services to top management of small to medium-sized companies. I said, well, I've never done that, but I know I can do that. And so I applied. There were 100 people in the field selling when I joined the company, men. I was the third woman. At the end of the first full year, I was #1 in sales of the whole company. And they said to me, what did you do that was different? I said, I have no idea. I've never worked for anyone before. So they created a job for me, going to going on sales calls with all the people all over the United States
Mm.
and observing what they were doing. And they weren't doing things that were wrong or not right. It's just that my thought process was different. My thought process was yesterday. Can I give you a tiny example?
Yes,
Okay,
please. That's what
okay,
we're here. We want to hear. I was going to ask. So go.
okay. So I went in to see a gentleman that he had told his secretary, he said, you have 10 minutes. Don't forget you only have 10 minutes. So that's a little, a little warning signal for me. And so I went in and there was this big man sitting at this huge desk, sitting in a huge chair. And my chair was, of course, way down where I'm right by not by my right by myself, overlooking. I could all sleep on his desk. Anyway, I said, would you mind if I bring my chair around to sit beside you to show I can show you what we do? He said, no, that would be okay. And so I did. And I started. I said, is this okay now? I always ask permission. Is this okay? He said, yes. So I started doing a presentation. And he said, um, I said, I have a feeling about this. If I were to give you my whole presentation on what we're doing and you were to really like it, is there any chance that you would buy it? He said no. So I said, okay. I closed my presentation book and I said, I don't need the practice. Thank you for your time. And I got up and started to leave. And he said, God, please wait. I owe you an apology. The reason I said that was because your company is a competitor to mine. And so I wanted to find out what y'all were doing. He said, would you mind giving me a little more information? I said, if I do, what's in it for me?
Good for you.
And he said, I will give you 3 people that I think would want your service, and I will write it down for you and tell my secretary to give it to you. I said, okay, we have a deal. So I took the onus of being afraid and hostile of going through the whole thing and then finding out he had no interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I would be telling the saleswomen is don't automatically assume that you are not in control
Mm.
of the situation.
Yep. Yeah, as women, we are in control, and I think we forget that.
Yeah. Hmm.
We do.
Yeah.
And let's talk about controlling you and your savviness that you have.
Mhm.
You've been known to speak to anybody. It doesn't matter if they're a high-end CEO like you're talking about. It doesn't in all walks of life. And I believe that the women entrepreneurs need to hear from you how to actually do that, how to actually talk to CEOs, executives, prime ministers, presidents, and beyond, because you've done it all
Mhm.
and you know how to speak to them. So, do you mind actually giving them some tips on what to do?
Well, I was very involved in the community. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be. That means in organizations and things like that, because you don't have a board of directors. And so the community can be giving you feedback on how you're coming across. So I use that a lot because I would hesitate. I would always, if I were a mixer in the networking, I would go up to someone or they would come up to me because that's the point. I pretty much worked in a man's world. And so I was always dealing mostly with men. And so I would introduce myself and then I would start asking questions about him and wanting to know more about what they're doing and how's it going and things of that nature. And so I would write down, I would obviously, I would acknowledge that he knew I was listening. Because asking questions about themselves and listening to answers are going to give you all the clues you need in order to move forward with the next step. And then, of course, the perfect thing is follow up with the person. If you exchange business cards, of course, you always have your business card, ask for a business card. And then you make, as soon as you leave the area, you write and put down what he does so you can follow up. So it's not so difficult if you just pay attention to the person you're talking to.
Oh, and I find that is a key. People have a tendency not to want to listen
Uh-huh.
and acknowledge what they hear.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Right? And then they want to talk about themselves instead of what, everybody's got a sign. What's in it for me? So, what is in it for them? They need to know. And so, by listening and acknowledging who they are and what they do, it's
Uh-huh.
key. Oh my God, what wisdom.
Well, it just you get loved because men particularly, but businessmen in working, they like to talk about what they do and who they are. And so why not give them that opportunity?
Yeah, I feel like you're going on a first date then. Almost just trying to just find out about them a little bit.
Yeah,
With
that's
no
right.
attachment, just find out about them, right?
Yeah, yeah, and their business, to just
Well,
it's casual, and I use a smile a lot because nobody can get mad at somebody who smiles at them.
well, I'm glad I learned how to smile at a young age because that's what I do all the time is smile.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
does
So,
work.
so, so that's wonderful. Whoops.
I love it. I love it. So, what about a letter to your younger self? If you were going to go back and write a letter to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Well, it's interesting because I actually decided to write a letter to my grandchildren
Oh,
of of things that I would hope that they would learn along the path of life. And I gave them a lot of information about background, the fathers, all the statistics that never know about grandparents and things of that nature. And I talked to them about thoughts and values and things of that nature. This isn't a letter. It was an 11-page letter.
oh.
And I put it in a shoebox with the books that I had printed. I couldn't give them an ebook, but and photographs that I had taken of them with me with them and things of that nature. And I gave it to each one of those grandchildren individually. And I said, you don't have to look at this now. And I did something that I really needed to do. I had my own expectations of what would happen if they never read it, if they never opened the box. And it's a good thing I did. I lowered my expectation and gave it to him unconditionally because they were at the age that I felt that would be important and things of that nature. And one day they might want to do that. And so one day, a year later, one of the one of the young granddaughters took the box with her to college, and she went through the whole thing, and she sent me an email telling me how valuable that was, how extraordinary it was, and I just couldn't believe it. It was the answer to my prayers of, will I ever make a difference with my grandchildren?
Oh, wow. That is the sweetest thing ever. Oh my God, what a difference that made in their life.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. So I'm very close with my grandchildren, and I think that's great. But that doesn't end. What would I do if I wrote a letter to my 18-year-old self?
Uh-huh.
I would say, "You go, girl."
Wow. You go, girl. What
Hmm.
an encouraging letter that would be. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah.
I can see
You
flashcards. You go, girl.
know. You go, girl. You know
Yeah.
how to do that.
Yeah, that's
Mhm. And
cute.
you know what'll happen if you didn't doesn't work.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. What happens
Yeah,
if it doesn't work? So you go, girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, a game changer. All right, you've been an entrepreneur basically your whole life. Even when you were working for somebody, you were still an entrepreneur because you were a trailblazer for
Hmm.
them as well.
Hmm.
What would be like a key decision or habit that you think you did in your life to make a difference that changed the game for you as a whole?
I learned how to ask for what I want.
Oh, okay. Let's step back a minute because as
Okay.
women, that is
Hmm.
one of the challenges we have is asking for what we really want.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Wow. Can you give us some tips and some strategies to overcome that or to actually just ask?
Just ask. One good friend said, I didn't really know I needed that statement, but I was with my husband and doing all the things that he wanted to do, and I realized that a lot of those things are not anything I wanted. And so we talked about it, and I stopped doing those things. I only did the ones I wanted to do with him. So it's something that's simple. It might doesn't have to be a game changer. It's think about what you want and what is the possible outcome. What is the best possible thing that you can do
Wow.
if it works? Yeah, that back to that. And so you can't well you can, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't be afraid to ask for what you want.
That is such a key lesson there. And I'm going to take that to heart because sometimes I don't ask for what I want. So I get that.
Oh,
Most women don't.
wow.
So thank you for that wisdom.
My pleasure. Um, I think one of the things that I did want to share with you was when the movie industry, when I was helped create the plan for the Georgia Department of Industry and Trade, and I did that, and I became the first film representative. And when I did that, I realized that there was a major film being made in North Carolina. I lived in Georgia, and that if they're going to be doing that right there, why don't they come to Georgia? I need to talk to them and tell them I'm going to invite them to come to Georgia. This is how naive I was back then. And so I learned it was 20th Century Fox, a major motion picture going to be filmed with Sidney Poitier. And I didn't know anybody at 20th Century Fox. I asked around, if anybody knows anybody at 20th Century Fox. Nobody knew anything. So what do you think I did?
You actually probably found out who to talk to and you went and spoke to them.
Well, I called the president of 20th Century Fox.
The president himself?
Yes, that's that. Well, you got to start where you can get an answer. My goodness gracious! Why go up the line? All I wanted to do is get to the person who can say yes and no. If he says no, why not?
Okay, wait. So wait, we talked a minute ago about how she can talk to all these amazing women and men
Uh-huh.
and how she can talk to CEOs, executive, president,
Mhm.
and beyond. Guys,
Uh-huh.
she
Uh-huh.
called him up directly.
Yes, I did. I did. And I told the secretary, the gatekeeper, what I was representing, and she put me through. So I told Gordon Stolberg, I remember Gordon Stolberg, and I said, here's what I'm offering, and I'd like to meet with you and tell you more about it. He said, that would be great. Why don't you send me something in writing and include a photograph of yourself? I said, aha, aha. There's a key game changer. And so I did. And then I followed up with a call a few days later, and he said, yes, I will be glad to meet with you. Would you like to meet in New York City or in Los Angeles? Oh, that. I said very quickly, New York City, because I was in Atlanta. And so 2 weeks later, we were having dinner at the Park Lane Hotel restaurant and talking all about the state of Georgia and the film and why they couldn't come there because they'd been planning it for a year. But they became a longtime client of doing films in Georgia.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, guys, all she did was make a phone call.
Yeah, I did.
Wait, but today you guys just want to send emails. You can
Mhm,
still pick up that phone and make a phone call. Those connections
mhm,
are so important.
mhm, mhm.
Wow. All right. Okay. So now that you've blown us away even more, so what do you think women think about that stops them as a roadblock? It just stops them as a roadblock and they don't move forward to make that phone call like you did. They don't do things like you do. What would you wish they would stop believing?
They should stop believing that they could not.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they do,
because
but they do believe that. They believe that it's not them. It should be somebody else, or they're not strong enough, or they're not powerful enough.
wow. Wow. Well, the answer is, to me, write down the things that you don't feel you're good at and learn a little bit about them. I didn't know when I was calling on all these different business people. I wanted to know what trends were relating to things that would be of interest to them. So if they brought up something that was newsy relating to not politics, not religion. I never talked about politics or religion, but about a business thing that is going on. And I tried to have just enough headlines to know that they knew that I read the paper and followed things of that nature. So I would go prepared, not with each individual person, but I followed key headlines in business newspapers, business chronicles and things of that nature. So you know what the topics are. If you know what the topics are, you can learn more. You could learn more about them. So you could at least have a conversation and ask questions. What is it about this that is the most troubling to you? You ask a question that is very pertinent to their business.
Ooh, okay. A question that's pertinent to their business, not what you want. It's what's important to them.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. It's that sign, what's in it for me? They
Uh-huh.
all have it.
Wow.
How you
Yeah,
talk to them. Am I right, Miss Bev?
you're right. You're
Mhm.
absolutely right.
I love it. All right. We're going to go on a little lighter side, but not.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So you mentioned there was a blended family of
Yes.
five.
Yes, at that time, yes.
Wow. So, how did you balance life back then?
My kids always knew that I was a working mom. And so they were in school. And if you, in the book, why not always ask for what you want? They interviewed, Terry North interviewed my two sons. I was terrified at that thought when she said she wanted to interview somebody from my family. I want to ask my children how they thought about my life with them. I was terrified. And so finally she interviewed them. They were on the line together on a Zoom call. And she said, do you want to see I've typed it up. Do you want to see it? I said, no. No. Why would I want to see it? I said, she waited another day or two. Okay. It's really good. You Would you like for me to send it to you? Okay. So finally, I agreed. She sent it to me. It's a good thing I had a box of Kleenex right beside me because of all the things that I never realized made an impact on them by watching me succeed or fail in a business. It taught them so many things by just following the thought process. And so I always involved my kids to the degree I thought they would be interested. What would you do if this happened? So I wanted their thoughts. And so they didn't feel left out.
Oh, so you brought them into the mix. What would happen? How would you feel if with this happened or anything like that?
Yes.
So that is really good advice.
Hmm. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So they felt like they were a part of everything you were doing.
Yes. They felt like they were a part of everything I was doing.
Wow.
Yeah, and those five children, three who were not mine and two who were still, well, with the two, three that were not, are still close. And they come to see me, and it's just beautiful because you don't have to try to entertain your children. Let them know what you do, how you think, how you want them to behave. I would give my kids, the boys, um, a little, maybe say like $20 or something, and go read the paper on the stock market and find out what interests you in the stock market. What kind of thing, if you had money, what would you invest in? And why don't you we'll set up an account for you and you can use your $20 to start.
Ooh,
So
that's
it was not assuming that they didn't know anything about something. It was how do I teach them about things that are real life?
wow. That goes into every area of life. It goes into business. What are they seeing you doing? It
Mhm,
goes into marriage, relationships. How are they seeing those things and how is that playing out?
mhm,
It goes into are you exercising even? Are they seeing you implementing some health strategies, food, exercise, health, and
mhm.
they will just continue that on as they age. Have you seen that happen in your life as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've always been exercise fitness conscious and walking and doing classes and things of that nature. And they are too. They do them too. Yeah. Monkey see, monkey do.
Definitely. Monkey see, monkey do. And that's with every aspect of life. Now, personally, now,
Mhm,
okay, they're older now, they have their own lives.
mhm.
They already have their own grandchildren, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
the question then becomes is what do you do now to have a balance inside of your life?
Oh, me here.
Yeah, you here.
Okay. Well, I think I'm busier than I ever was because I walk around and try and find things that I can help create and how I can help somebody who's not feeling well
Oh,
or or anybody that I see who needs a little hand up. And I just want to say, how are you doing today? Not how are you doing? Then you're going to have a long answer. How are you doing today? And I always smile. And I am told that I smile all the time when they're walking around in the common areas, and it just makes everybody feel happier. So I love mentoring and I'm mentoring several people here where I live. And so we live right next to a college and we're creating products, we're creating plans that we're doing. And I'm helping create a program right now with one of the residents and a context on curiosity. And we're doing a class based on the best-selling book, Seek. And so it's about curiosity, asking questions, listening to the answers. And we're going to have five students and five Berry students, five students and five residents. And we're going to interact with one another so we can, things like that, creative things. And so there's always room for creativity.
I love the fact that you're mentoring these these college kids, correct? They're college kids. Yes. I love the fact that your wisdom is mentoring these college kids and giving them your expertise. And there's five of you doing that. Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. There, we have wonderful programs that connect the students with the residents. We have a T-shirt because it's a Berry College is the name of the college. It's
Yeah.
very well known, and so we have T-shirts and they say elderberries. We're the elder berries.
Well, elderberry's really good for you too. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
they have so many benefits. Oh my God. So just think of all the benefits you're giving to these students and beyond, because they're going to pass those things on to their grandchildren as well.
To their children, I hope.
Yeah,
Yes,
children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. It's just going to keep going. Your wisdom.
that's kind.
That
That's
is
kind.
amazing. I love that. Oh my God. I want to be invited to a meeting. I want the wisdom.
You have it. Believe me, you have it.
Thank you. All right, so let's talk about some advice to a woman who is an entrepreneur. She's a business owner
Mhm.
and she's in the middle of something and she's just frustrated and ready to give up. What advice do you have for her?
She There are organizations that are powerful, like NAWBO, National Association of Women Business Owners, and other organizations. There's a committee of 200 for those who are more advanced. That's an invitation only, of course, and I was in that. So it's finding your peers, finding a person who is a peer, not looking way down, not looking way up, and being able to say, I need some help with this. I'm having a struggle. I was wondering if I can tell you briefly about it, and maybe you could give me some help, some guidance, and what you might suggest. Ask for help. Ask for what you want.
Wow. Yeah, we're going back to ask for what you want. Say what
Mhm,
you want.
mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're struggling with a decision to make, take the two pieces of paper. If I do this, and if I do this.
I love that, by the way. I've done that before. I do pro and con lists, but
Mhm,
I love the fact, what is the worst possible thing? And if I can live with that worst possible situation, then
mhm.
it's okay. Just do it.
Okay. So what is the problem why somebody can't move forward if they're stuck?
Well, not with your answer. There's no reason.
Okay. Okay.
There's no reason. If they just take that piece of paper and say, this is the worst case scenario.
Mhm,
And if that is the worst case scenario and they can deal with it, like you said,
mhm,
there's no reason to move forward. Now, let's
mhm,
take it the other way.
mhm.
They cannot deal with it.
Cannot deal with
They
it.
cannot deal with it. The worst case scenario, they
Mhm,
cannot deal with it.
mhm.
Then,
So then they either don't do it, they close the business, they decide how to sell the business, they look for a partner, somebody who would bring value, if it's not money, to value and wisdom to the arrangement, to the thing. Somebody who would be an unofficial board member who might give them some thoughts and direction to go. Because it could be a man, it could be a woman.
mhm.
So, older women are loving as young people asking them for help.
Yeah,
It's that simple.
yeah, yeah. I mean, women who are retired love to give their advice. Women who are in their 60s, 70s, even who are not retired,
Mhm,
love to help people and give their advice as well.
mhm.
Because
That's
we've all
right.
been through something. Am I right, Miss Bev?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes. Yes, I've lost two husbands. I went through something. I had to close a business I was working on 2 years, a big women's business for help women many, many years ago. And I had investors and it was ready to launch
And
when
that
he
is in
was,
chapter 8 of her book, by the way.
my book called Why Not? Always ask for what you want. Yes. And I had to make a decision. It was a painful decision. I went away and cried for a week before I made the decision, but I knew the answer.
Mm,
I knew the answer. I have to help this person I love. want to live after he loses both legs.
Yeah. Oh,
And
by the
it's,
way, I did cry that whole chapter.
oh, wow. Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
the man on the plane kept asking me if I was okay. And I'm like,
Well, I have that in there because it is all not roses and, and blue skies. And you have to learn how to deal with things that are things that are not in your control. I like to break it down into two categories: what is in my control and I can make decision on, and what is not in my control, and there's no way I'm going to have anything to do with it. And so if it's a bigger picture, then you know you don't have anything, cannot do anything, then the decision becomes much clearer.
it does. It does. And her book helps you with that. Trust me. All right. Future sneak peek in the what's going on. Can we pull back the curtain and tell me what's next for you?
Um, I Well, what's next is something I've already done because I decided I wanted to write a column for the local newspaper a year a year and a half ago. And so I called the editor and said, I'm a writer and I wondered if you might be interested in some of my works on your newspaper. He said, let me turn you over to my city editor.
Oh,
And so I was for a year and a half. I wrote a column for the Rome newspaper, and anything I wanted, oh, every 2 weeks,
wow.
600 words or less. And there's some wonder. I had people around the where I live saying how much they love reading my stories. They always had an uplifting ending.
Oh, mm.
Always had, even if it was a tough call, it always had an uplifting ending.
Well, you can always write for us. We always have a column available, and you can always write for us. We'll be super excited to have you.
We'll have to put on the agenda to talk about that for
Yeah,
sure. So I love
definitely.
writing. I love writing. It's just something that I do. I love writing, and writing can help you answer questions in your own mind as well.
Mm. So, do you like journaling?
Yes, I like journaling, but more importantly, I just write in the middle of the night. I wake up and I have ideas, and so I keep a little tablet and a pen by my nightlight.
Hmm.
And I get up and write down 2 or 3 notes. And then the next day I know what I was thinking so I don't forget it. And then I will maybe do a column or something of that nature because it's always about something that I'm about to do.
Wow. Oh, something you're about to do. Because you're just constantly finding something else to do. You don't stop.
That's what my kids say. I have to make an appointment to call my mother.
That I love that one. I love that one because you're constantly on the go.
Yeah,
And that just proves to it. You have to write down things that you're going to do because you're constantly going to do something else, like the elderberry. That is so cute. Yeah, with the wisdom that you have. All right. Now, something that's going to shock my audience. What was something that you've done that would shock people?
okay. Um, I was going to India for a series for a month. I was invited to go to do advanced sales training for Indian sales executives, mostly men. And this was quite a few years ago. And I said, well, the person who I would really like to meet, I studied for this program for over a year. I read books. I wanted to learn the culture. And so I decided that I really wanted to meet this woman, Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India. And I asked all of my friends here, how do I go about doing that? Nobody knew, of course, nobody knew. And so I did the most logical thing I could think of. I wrote her a letter and said, I'm coming to your country, and here's what I'm going to be doing. And I would like to see if there's a possibility that I could meet with you. And by the way, I would like to meet with you on this day and at this time, because that's when I will be in New Delhi, where you live. And that's the time before my first seminar. And so if you're going to be outrageous, go all the way. And so I sent the letter with a lot of information about background and things like that, and the book I wrote for today's saleswoman. And when I got to India, um, I asked my host, Mr. Krishnan, I would like you to appreciate. He was so excited that I was there, and I said, I have a request. Would you please take this duplicate package that I have that I wrote to Ms. Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister? Would you please make sure that she gets the copy that you're going to get to her because it may or may not have gotten to her. And he thought at that moment he has made the drastic mistake of his life in having me on here ready to teach to these people that I'm obviously crazy. How in the world could anybody expect to meet the prime minister? He said. I mean, people are lined up every day outside of her house wanting to just see her. And you want to have a meeting with her? And he went on and on and on. He was really concerned that he'd made a bad mistake. I said, I understand. Would you please make sure she gets the letter? And so 3 or 4, 5 days later, he comes running down my first seminar, 2 or 3 days into the seminar, waving a telegram confirming my audience with Prime Minister Indira Gandhi on the day that I asked, at the time that I asked. I became a hero in India. Nobody ever has done that, ever.
Wow. Okay. Guys, all she's doing is asking.
Yes, yes, yes. All I did is ask for what I wanted. Yes.
Are you asking for what you want? Think of her book. Do you know
Yeah.
what's the title again?
Why not? Always ask for what you want. And so that meeting did happen. That meeting did happen on the last day of the day before I was leaving. And I really prepared for what I was able to do. I knew I did a lot of homework. I knew what I could give her, what I could not give her, and how it was going to be. It could be, thank you so much for coming and meeting you. It was a nice seeing you, and that would be it. Or she might have had something else happen, which happened a year later. And so I had eventualities. And so I had everything for the first 3 minutes timed out. I knew exactly what I was going to say, when I was going to say it, and then I was going to start asking questions. And so that meeting that could have taken 30 seconds was 25 minutes long. The two of us by myself with her in her dining room, her private dining room in her home. And it was beyond understanding. It was beyond anything I ever could have imagined. I thought it couldn't possibly be. I'm just a gal in Atlanta, Georgia, who's had this silly idea of meeting the prime minister. And how did that happen? I mean, it couldn't be me, but it was.
It was
But it
you.
was.
It was you. With a lot of God grace happening in the back end, I think, for you because you asked what you wanted. He'll give you what you want. Am I right, Miss
Mhm,
Bev? You
mhm,
just have to ask.
mhm, mhm.
Wow. All right. On the lighter side of this, because that was so amazing. Do you have a favorite song or songs?
Oh, I love the movie. I mean, the song "Smile." Smile when your heart is breaking. Smile. What's the use of crying? It's just a beautiful song,
It is
and it helps me to want to smile again.
Yep, that is a beautiful song. I do love that
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, my mother used to have that playing every Saturday when we cleaned the house, along with I think I don't know, Tom Jones and all the other ones. All right.
Mhm.
I already mentioned, I think 2 or 3 books. So, do you mind giving us some of your favorite books or the
Well,
ones you wrote or the
I
ones?
I think one of my favorite books is one of the ones that I wrote. And it's called "It's Your Life, Isn't It?"
Ooh.
And it was published in Japanese. I was commissioned to write it by a Japanese publisher because I was I lived in Japan 3 years and I knew the culture. And this was a very extraordinary circumstance when I was invited to speak 2 years later. and I knew what to say because I knew the culture. Learning a culture of a foreign country is always something you must do if you're going to be dealing in global world. And so anyway, I was invited to write it for a Japanese market by a Japanese publisher. That that was I was the first woman, first person ever to be invited by this major publishing company in Tokyo to have a foreigner write for the Japanese market.
Oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
That is really amazing.
Hmm.
So, I mean, who's ever had anything like that? I mean, I don't know anybody but you. I know you, Miss Bev.
Yeah, so it was published and it was in Japanese, and so it was extraordinary. I had women calling me from Japan wanting to talk with me. With the time difference, they knew the time difference in their broken English. It was just beautiful. And one woman who wrote me an email letter, which I still have, and we still talk, she said that that book, I found that book in a library in New York City when I was living there. She said it leapt out of the shelves into my arms. It's your life, isn't it? Choosing the path that's right for you was the subtitle. And she said, I read that when I got home. It changed my life.
Mm,
It changed my life.
yeah. Is it available in English as well?
Yes, that was
It-
the next thing. So the next book during COVID, I found my manuscript online. And I said, this is about change. Everything is changing. And that's what was happening in Japan. So it's about changing. So I made it a global book. And I had to self-publish because there were nobody was answering the phone in the literary world. And so I self-published, and it became a beautiful book with 25 of my own photographs in there. And so it really, and that's what the book that said, "It's your life, isn't it? Making a difference starts with I've got an idea."
um,
So that's something that I believe so strongly, that if you just get an idea, don't just think about it, do it.
mm, mm. Just do it. Implement it. Make it happen. Don't
Make it
just sit
happen.
back and say, "Oh yeah," like I did for over 20 years with the magazine. I knew I was going to do it. I just didn't know when it was going to happen, you
Mhm,
know?
mhm,
So, I mean, I probably should have did it beforehand, but I probably had lessons I had to learn
mhm,
along the way for
mhm.
it to be what it is today. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So you'll do it. Just when.
Yes, it's just win. So I love what you're doing. It's just spectacular.
Thank you. All right. Words to live by, a quote.
Hmm. Quote, always ask for what you want.
Mm,
I can't make it any simpler.
yeah. All right. Superpower for 24 hours. What would it be? You can do anything.
Oh, I know what I would do. I love walking and I love walking on the beach. So
Ooh,
if I could find a beach, I would go walking by myself and not having nothing to write on. I just want to think, and I want to listen to whatever happens. And now I love that, and I can do that here around a lake. So I want to be walking, and I want to be walking by myself. I don't want to walk in a group because you can do that, and it's fun too. But walking for me is think time, looking up above and saying thank you, and what's next for today. Yeah,
yep.
it's a listening factor, and you can only do it if you're out walking.
Wow. And the energy that comes from the water and from the sky and everything just like feeds that, like, what's next?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
All
And
right.
that's when I would go to sleep and wake up in the middle of 3 in the morning and start writing.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
Okay. Another tip.
Hmm. Hmm.
Another tip. Great. All right. Do you believe in motivation? And if you do, what do you do to get motivated?
What do you do to be to get
Motivated.
motivated?
Yeah, if you believe in it. Some people don't believe in motivation, others do. What do you do to get motivated?
Well, I've never had to do that. So
She's a natural motivator, obviously. Look at her.
yeah, I mean,
I I get up and dance. If I have to be
okay, okay.
motivated, I dance.
Okay, well, dancing is wonderful. I sing. I love singing. I would sing around. I would watch something that's beautiful on that one of the great films or great drama of television, of the stage, of the theater. I love theater and watching, you know, the great the great classics of the world. That's that if you don't get motivated watching that, good gracious. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All
Yeah.
right. What is the best way to stay connected with you? What is the best way for our audience to stay connected with you?
Well, I do have a website. It's very easy. My name, Bev at beverlycopen.com. But the best way is probably on Facebook. I enjoy Facebook. I just check it not every day, but most days. And if somebody sends me a private message, then I will decide whether to answer or not answer. If it's a guy and he has three friends, I just say no, thank you.
Oh, another lesson for you women. No, thank you. Don't answer. That's so cute. All right. What would you like to leave our audience with today? What nuggets or tip?
Think about how you can help someone else today. Keep it simple because that way it's not overwhelming.
Mhm.
Keep your mind open and walk out and be around people and see if there's somebody you can help do something today.
Oh my God. What a sweet thought. What can we do for others today?
Mhm.
Miss Bev, you're amazing. Thank you for being on here and sharing your heart and your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.